Yeah, Python. Yeah, morning all. So before I start, can anyone please confirm whether my voice is clear, whether the screen is visible or not? Yes.
Clear, sir.
Python execution modes, two modes of execution. We have got two modes of execution, right? Interactive mode and batch mode. Interactive mode and batch mode. Here we directly type Python statements on the interpreter and the user can easily interact with Python statement by statement. Advantage to test the functionalities of Python and to learn Python. Batch mode. Here we write set of statements within the editors or IDs. Save it by using .py extension, later submit to Python. What are the various editors? What are the various editors, right? Where we can write the Python code. Within the Notepad you can write, within the Edit Plus you can write, within the VI and within the Nano editors. Notepad, Edit Plus, VI and Nano. And what are the various IDs? PyCharm, PyDev, Komodo, Spider, Eclipse, NetBeans, Jupyter, and VS Code. Yes. PyCharm is the mostly used among all these, right? Various IDs. PyCharm is the mostly used ID, right? So yes. So I'll be just discussing about this installation, working with these IDs, developing the first Python application. Developing the first Python application. Python application. Okay. Developing the first Python application using a editor. Using a editor. Example like Notepad. Example like Notepad, right? Yes. Open Notepad and type the following Python statements. Open Notepad and type the following Python statements. Up to now, we didn't discuss anything about Python. So I'll take two values, 10 and 20. X is 10, Y is 20. No need to define the data types. I want to perform some kind of arithmetic operations. Print X plus Y. Print X minus Y, X into Y. Print X plus Y, X minus Y, print X into Y, print X by Y. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Addition, subtraction, multiplication. I'll copy this code to a separate notepad file. I will copy this to a separate notepad file, right? Yes. Control S. And 8 batch. So within this, I'm saving it as sample1.py extension, right? Yes. So here, save as I am writing here, save as sample1.py. Yes. Now submit this file to Python. Now submit this file to Python. How will you submit this file to Python? At the bottom search panel, type CMD and say enter, right? Yes. Type CMD and say enter. Type Python here within this and submit your file. Where your Python file is present within the C drive, Python 8 AM batch. Slash sample1.py, right? Yes. Say enter. 10 plus 20, 10 minus 20, 10 into 20, 10 by 20. 10 plus 20, 10 minus 20, 10 into 20, 10 by 20. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Okay, this is how we do, right? So to the Python, in which, what is the file name, in which folder, and in which drive, right? Specify the entire path. Right. But what is your observation here? We are writing the Python code within the notepad and we are submitting it the command prompt. But here we are writing the code. At one place. We are writing the code at one place, where within the notepad. And executing other place where you are executing within the command prompt. But to write and execute, at the same place, we have IDLE. Which comes along with Python installation. But to write and execute at the same place, we have IDLE, which comes along with Python installation, using which we can write and execute at the same place. Understand? IDLE, Integrated Development Learning Environment. Right? Using which we can write and execute at the same place. How to open this IDLE means? Type IDLE in your search, you will get this IDLE. That is one way. Or go to your all apps, check where your Python is available here. Python 3.7, if you click, you will see IDLE there. IDLE, right? Yes. Python shell gets opened in this way. File, new file. Here itself we can write the code. Here itself run option is there, right? Can you see this run option available? Here itself we can write, here itself we can run. So what is that? X value is 10, y is 20. Print x plus y, x minus y, x into y. Python is case sensitive. Uppercase, lowercase are taken differently. Case sensitive language. Right. Save it. Python 8 a.m. Right? Yes. Sample2.py. Okay. So here taking two values, performing arithmetic operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Okay. Okay. Run here itself, we are writing the code. Here itself, we are execute run a run module. 10 plus 20, 10 minus 20, 10 into 20, 10 by 20. And plus 20, 10 minus 20, 10 into 20, and 10 by 20. You got the output, right? So here itself we can write, here itself we can run, execute. Okay. Now, understood, right? Later, I'll discuss how to work with IDs, Python IDs like PyCharm, Anaconda distribution, Jupyter, Spider, VS Code, right? I'll be just show you how to download and how to install and how to run the code and execute the code within this, right? Yes. Data types. Next, I'll be discussing about data types. Every organization, right, has got data and operations. Every organization has got data and operations. Data represented using. Every organization has got data and operations. Data represented using data types. Every organization, data represented using data types or variables. Operations represented, right, using operations represented using functions. For example, if you take any organization, right, it has got a data and operations, data using data types or variables, operations using functions. For example, if you take the example of a bank. Bank has got data. What is the data? Customer data. Customer name, its account number, its balance, its branch, everything represented by using data types or variables. And the customer operations like deposit operation, transfer operation, withdraw operations by using functions. And similarly, if you go for employees data, employee ID, employee name, salary, and employee operations like calculating tax, net salary, right? So every organization has got data and operations. Data represented using data types or variables, operations using functions, right? So here, if we compare, if you are comparing C or C++ or Java with Python, right? Yes, with Python. Python supports dynamic data types. It's Python supports dynamic data types. Python supports dynamic data types. In other programming language like C or C++ or Java, if you want to define a value like x has 10, compulsory you need to define like int. Data type defining compulsory. Without this data type, this variable x can't be created. If I say y equal to 4.5, compulsory you need to say float. If I say z equal to a string, I need to say this int, float, and string. It's compulsory that I need to define this int or float or string. But here in Python, no need to define the data types. Directly, I can say x as 10, y as 4.5, z as hello. No need to define the data type. Here, what kind of variable x is means? What kind of variable x is means? Based on this data type defining, we are saying x is integer. What kind of variable y is means? As you have said, float is float type. But here in Python, what kind of variable x is means what value you have assigned to it. If you're assigning integer value, integer variable creates. If you're assigning float value, float variable creates. If you're assigning string value, string variable creates. There is a function called type. Type of x is what type? Integer type. Type of y is what type? Float type. Type of z is what type? Yes, string type. Type of x is what type? Integer. Type of y is what type? Float type. Type of z is what type? String type. Type of x is int, type of y is float, type of z is string. Okay. There is a function in Python type to know the type of variable, type of x int, type of y float, type of z is string. So to make you understand more on this data types, right, I'll be discussing 4 cases now. File new. Case 1, observe these things. Case 1. Defining a variable. If I define a variable like x equal to 10, internally one object gets created. Internally one object with value 10 gets created with some address. The address is given to x. What x is storing? Don't say like x storing a 10. X stores this address. 3 things you need to understand. If I say print x, it goes to this address, and prints the content, whatever present at that address. It prints the content, at that address. Prints the content at that address, that is 103070. Prints the content at that address. Print ID of X. Prints the address of X. One zero three zero 70. Prints the data type of X. Prints the data type of X. Data type is what type? Int type. So here, how to print the content, how to print the address of a variable, content of a variable, type of a variable. Print X prints the content. ID address. Type of X prints the data type of X, right? How exactly it is stored? How to print the content, type and address. Case 2. Observe this case 2, right? Now try to answer it. Everyone, you can unmute yourself and try to give your responses. I want the sessions to be interactive. So you can unmute your and you can just give your answers, right? And also you can give your answers in the chart panel. You can also type your answers in the chart panel, right? Yes. X is 10, Y is 20. How many objects will be created? Yes. How many objects will be created here? For X is 10, Y is 20. Two objects, right? For X, one object. For X equal to 10, one object. Y equal to 20, another object, right? Yes. Two objects gets created. Yes. Now try to answer. What is print X? Print X, it goes to this address and prints the content. What it is? 10. 10. And try to say ID of X. If I want to print the address, what is it? 3070.
103070.
And the type, what is the type of the text? What you have assigned to X?
Integer.
You have assigned integer, right? So it is int type. Yes. Print Y. 20.
20.
Yes. Print address of Y.
1040.
1040.
So I've taken some random value here, but where exactly this 20 is stored, that address will be printed. Print type of Y. Type of Y is what type?
Integer.
Type. So two different variables X and Y with two different values 10, 20, then two different objects with two different addresses, right? Yes. Case 3. X value is 10, Y value is 10. Now try to answer how many objects will be created. Yes.
Two.
Everyone try to answer how many objects will be created.
Total 4.
2 objects.
Two objects.
One.
Observe carefully here. Only one object gets created. Only one object. An object with value 10 with some address. The address given to X. Okay, this is fine. But before creating object for Y, before creating object for phi, right? It checks any object with value 10 is already available. If available, the same address will be given to Y. Observe Y equal to 10. X equal to 10, Z also 10. Don't think like 3 objects with value 10, 10, 10 will be created. Duplicate objects. The same object address will be given to X, Y, Z. For example, X value is 10, Y is 20, Z is 30. How many objects?
One object.
X is 10, Y is 20, Z is 30.
Three objects.
Three objects. If the values are different, multiple objects. If the values are same, only one object. So here X, Y, and Z, they are sharing the same content and the addresses, right? X, Y, and Z, they are sharing the same content and the address. Print X or print Y or print Z, they are going to print the same value, right? 10. Address also. Address of X or address of Y or address of Z. They are going to print the same address 103070. Print type of X, type of Y, and type of Z. Going to be the same type, right? Integer type. Integer type. So all these 3 variables going to share the same content and the address. Now observe this case 4, right? X value is 10, not X and Y here. I'll take X and X only. How many objects?
2.
2 objects.
Two objects.
2 objects. 2 different values, right? 2 different objects gets created. For 10, one object. For 20, another object. Now this is fine. Up to here it's fine, right? But if I say print X, what is the X value it prints? Will it print 10 or will it print 20 or will it print both? Yes.
Both.
If I say print X, will it print 10 or 20 or both?
It will print 10.
For example, your salary last year 50,000. Your salary this year 80,000. Print a salary means it will print the latest salary or both.
Latest.
Latest salary it prints, right? Here also X value was 10, X value is 20. Prints always it prints the latest value 20, right? Address of X means 1040. Type of X is what type? Integer type. Yes. So it is going to print only to the latest. And what is there any chance of printing? If I say second time also print X means 20. Third time also print X means it prints 20. Always it is printing 20. Is there any chance of printing this 10?
After the X equals to 10, we can give the print, then it will print.
So to know what happens to this previous object 10, whether it is removed or whether it is overwritten or what. So there is a small concept you need to understand. Garbage collector. It's too early to discuss that, but just I will give overview of it as of now. Later I discuss in brief about it. So to explain this garbage collector, I'll go back to this case 3. Garbage collector. Garbage collector means removes unused or unreferred objects. Removes unused or unreferred objects. Ask, what do you mean by unused or unreferred objects? Objects whose reference count becomes 0. Objects whose reference count then those objects we call them as unused or unreferred objects. Then these objects whose reference count becomes 0, then these objects are immediately removed. Objects whose reference count becomes 0, then these objects are immediately removed from the memory by the garbage collector. Means objects whose reference count becomes 0, then these objects are immediately removed from the memory by the garbage collector. You may ask, what is reference count and how it becomes 0? Reference count means two ways I can define it. Number of variables pointing. Number of variables pointing to an object, or number of variables storing address of an object. Number of variables pointing to an object or number of variables storing address of an object will give the reference count. Observe, to make you understand about this reference count and garbage collector. Now see this, how many variables are pointing to this object 10? This object 10, how many variables are pointing to this? X is pointing, Y is pointing, Z is pointing, right? All these three are pointing, or all these three are storing its address.
Yes,
So what is the reference count here?
3.
Because three variables are pointing. X is pointing, Y is pointing, Z is pointing. Reference count nothing but number of variables pointing to it. How many variables pointing? 3. Or number of variables storing address. X is storing the same address, Y is storing this, Z is storing. How many variables storing this object address?
3.
Fine. But I'm saying how this reference count becomes 0. Then only whenever reference count becomes 0, then only the objects are removed from the memory. How this reference count becomes 0 means slowly I will modify the Y value to 20. A new object gets created with some new address. The address is given to Y. Means Y is made to point to the new object. Y is not pointing to this. Now what is the reference count? 2. Only X and Z are pointing. Now slowly Z value also modified to 30. Now Z is pointing to the new object. Z is not pointing to this. Z is not pointing to this. What is the reference count? 1. What is the reference count? It's 1. Only X is pointing to the object 10 now. only x is pointing, means x equal to 50. X value also modified now. It is going to have its address. The address is given to x. Now x is not pointing to this. X is made to point to the new object. X is pointing to the new object 50. X is not pointing to 10 now. What is the reference count now?
0.
Reference count is 0, right? Reference count is 0, right? Now reference count is 0 means reference count becomes 0 means those objects are immediately removed from the memory by the garbage collector. This immediately this object is going to get removed from the memory by the garbage collector. Who removes? Garbage collector. Yes, understood this everyone. So once again I repeat, reference count means number of variables pointing to an object. So here 3 variables x, y and z are pointing to the same object 10. So the reference count was 3. 3 variables were pointing. Slowly x value, y value modified to 20. A new object with 20 got created. Now y is made to point to 20. But y is not pointing to this. So reference count becomes 2. Now slowly z value also modified to 30. Now a new object 30 created. Yes. Now slowly x also modified to 50. So reference count becomes 1 now. Y and z they are not pointing. Y and z they are pointing to different objects. So reference count is 1 because only x is pointing to this object. So reference count becomes 0. So every time 3 variables were pointing initially, but slowly, one by one, they are pointed to different objects. After this, right, the reference count becomes 0 because no variable are pointing to object 10. All they are pointing to different objects 10, 20, 30. So reference count is 0. Immediately this object gets removed by the garbage collector. Automatically it happens, right? Whenever it reference count becomes 0. So whenever you are modifying the values, they will be pointing to the new objects. They won't point to the old objects. Slowly, if the reference count becomes 0, so no variable are referring it. No variable referring it. No variable is using this. So that's why we call this unused or unreferred. Yes. Understood everyone? Any query in this? No.
Yeah, what is meant by garbage collector?
Hmm?
What is meant by garbage collector?
Krishna Kumar, can you see this or not?
Yes, sir.
Removes unused objects or unreferred objects from the memory. That is what. Removes unused or unreferred objects. So who removes this object from the memory? Garbage collector. Any object, if you want to remove from the memory, who removes it? Garbage collector. When it removes, when it reference count becomes 0. Later I discuss in brief about this, not a worry, with multiple examples during this topics. Now coming back to this case, based on the understanding, right? Forget about x equal to 20 for some time. X value is 10. X value is 10. What is the reference count of this object 10, right? What is the reference count?
1.
1, right? Reference count is 1 because only one variable x is pointing. Now x equal to 20, I said. Next. Now x is pointing to the new object. X is not pointing to this. What is the reference count?
0.
If reference count 0 means, just now I said, the object is going to get removed from the memory. The object is going to get removed from the memory. They are going to get removed from the.
So can you explain that again, please?
X equal to 10, X equal to 20, right? When X value is 10, reference count was 1 because X was pointing to this object to 10. Slowly, if you modified the X value to 20, now X is pointing to this new object. X is not pointing to 10. So reference count becomes 0 because no variable is pointing to this object to 10. Previously, X was pointing to the object 10. Now X is made to point to the new object. Now no variables are pointing or referring it, unreferred, unused. So reference count 0. Any object reference count 0 means that object immediately gets removed from the memory, right? Yes. Right. Now understood these 4 cases. I'll show you these 4 cases practically now. So just open this. File, new file, you can say. Now see this case 1. Case 1, right? Defining a variable, right? Yes. X value is 10. Print X. Print type of X. Print ID of X. Print X, type of X, ID of X. Observe this output. Module, if I execute this, print X means it is printing 10. Address of X is the address, type of X into type. That is case 1. Printing the content, printing the type, printing the address. I'll copy the same for case 2. I'll copy this. File, new file, another program file. Yes. Case 2. Defining two different variables. Defining two different variables with two different values. Defining two different variables with two different values. Then two different objects gets created. Two different objects gets created. Defining two different variables with two different values, then two different objects gets created with two different addresses. X value is 10, Y is 20. Two different variables X and Y with two different values 10 and 20. Then two different objects gets created with two different addresses. Just type this. Now try to answer, right, everyone. The address of X and address of Y, will it be same or different? Everyone try to answer. The
Different.
Different.
different, right?
Different.
right? Different because different values, different check this run module 10, 20 different values. See these different addresses or not? Different. That's fine. That is case 2. Now observe this case 3. I'll copy the same Control A, Control C. File, new file, right. Case 3. X is 10, Y also 10, right? Defining two different variables with same values. Then only one object gets created. Then only one object gets created and its address. And this address is returned to, both. Now observe this output. Y is 10. Address of X and Y is its. Try to answer the address of X and Y.
Same.
Is same. It must be same. It has to be same, right? It has to be same because same value, only one object, only one address. Case 4, try to answer for this case 4, right? This is not required. Defining X equal to 10, X equal to 20. Here X and X, two variables with same names. Two variables with same name. Two variables with same name but with different values. Defining two variables with same name X and X but with different values, then two different objects. Two different objects gets created. Then two different objects gets created and its address is written. And the previous one gets removed. Two variables with same name but with different values, then two different objects gets created and the previous one gets removed. X value is 10, X is 20. It always prints the latest value. Run 20, it always prints the latest value, right? Yes. Fine. I'll take for 10-15 minutes, right? More. Yes, tomorrow we'll have a session, right? But tomorrow a small change, right? Only for tomorrow, the class will be at 8:30. Only for tomorrow, right? Again, from Monday, it will be at 8 o'clock. Yes. So now I was talking about the data types, right? Data types. Data types are of two types. Data types are of two types. Fundamental data types. Yes, fundamental data types. Second is like collection data types. Fundamental data types, collection data types. Object holding single value. What is it? Object holding single value. Collection data type. Object holding group of values. The name itself, object holding single value, fundamental. Object holding group of values, collection of values, or set of values. Object holding group of values or collection of values or set of values. Okay. Object holding single value, example, x equal to 10. Internally, one object gets created with value 10 with some address. The address given to x. So here object holding single value. Here example of this x equal to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Here object holding group of values. Object holding group of values here. Object holding group of values. Object holding group of values. Object holding single value, right? Yes. Okay. Observe this, right? Fundamental data types and collection data types. Fundamental data types, yes. Fundamental data types mainly are of 5 types. Mainly 5 types. Int. Int means something in integer value like age 25. Second is like float. Float, right? Yes. Like height, height 6.2. String. String like city Hyderabad. What? Int, float, string, right? Boolean value, right? Boolean is something like which returns either true or false, which returns either true, false, right? And lastly, complex, right? Which returns. So x plus iy. Instead of I in Python, we say j, imaginary part, right? I will be there in general mathematics, but here we say jy, right? And the collection types, if I take collection data types. 4 types of collections. List using squared bracket, tuple using curly braces. See, by seeing the braces only, you should identify what type of collection. Squared bracket list, normal bracket tuple, set curly bracket, and dictionary. Dictionary is something like key and value format, right? Yes, something which is in the form of key value format, it's what? Dictionary, right? Yes. Fun data types. So in this, you have got a lot of discussion on string. What is string indexing, string slicing, string methods, and string functions, right? Fine. So understood, right? Just I was discussing like writing the first Python application within the editor and data types, how exactly a variable is stored, what happens, how to print its content, how to print its value, how to print its address, and fundamental data types and collection types, 4 types. So we have got a lot of discussion on collections. List, later I'll be discussing in brief, right? Like list indexing, list properties, list functions, list methods, list addresses, nested list, modifying a list, right? Similarly for tuple, set, and dictionary also, we'll have a lot of discussion on these things. Tomorrow we'll
So tomorrow
continue
time
more in the
is
tomorrow.
8:30 to
We can-
9:30.
Follow this. Right. A big message given by this online team about the previous video and this payment process and the procedure, right? If you're done with the payment, right, don't forget to share the screenshot of your payment to DURGASOFT online training, right? So then only they can forward you the link. Tomorrow you can attend, right? Tomorrow everyone can attend the session at 8:30 a.m. in the morning. And for Monday, the link will be changing, right? You need to get enrolled. So for only Python, we will be spending 70 hours, lot of syllabus you can see. You will be getting great command by the end of this course. Python core advanced and application oriented models I'll be discussing. And for full stack, Python full stack total, it is like 10,000, right? So Python core advanced application oriented modules and there is web development like HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, JavaScript, and the Django framework with 15 to 20 applications creations. If you see the previous batches of this Django, what I said 15 to 20 applications creations, right? So nearly some 20, 15 to okay, fine. Any queries you got to whom we have?
Exactly 8 o'clock we'll start the class daily.
Yes. As it was a demonstration, right? Yeah, I was waiting for the students to join. So it starts at 8 o'clock daily, 8 to 9 sharp.
Okay. Tomorrow 8:30 it is not possible for me.
Only for tomorrow you can join, you can make yourself, right? You'll be getting the recorded video, right? If you anyone unable to attend to your mail ID that link will be given, video link will be given to your mail ID if anyone missed tomorrow. But from Monday, the link is going to change, right? You're supposed to get enrolled, and every day video will be getting to your Google Drive. From Monday onwards, you will be getting video to your Google Drive, and you will be getting the notes to your mail IDs. And a WhatsApp group is going to get created on Monday for technical discussions, or if you get any error, you can take a snap of it and just post it in the group. Anybody can answer, I'll be answering, right? And assignments and tasks will be provided for building your own code, right? Yes. Fine.
And parallelly, you can start the Django and
Yeah, people who
other
want
UAT.
Django and UI technologies will be going on weekends. If anyone wants to attend parallelly also, they can attend parallelly, right?
Okay, from the next week onwards, it will start, or when it will start?
So it will be posted in the group, right? Every time, if any batch starts. Once you get enrolled, you can attend any of my Django batch, right? Yes.
Okay.
Okay, fine. So I'm stopping for now. If I'm done with your queries, we'll continue tomorrow at 8:30, right? Yes. Only for tomorrow it will be 8:30. From Monday again it will be at 8.
Then Monday to Saturday classes will be there, or Monday to Friday only?
Monday to Friday only. But sometimes I'll pre-intimate if there is any class on Saturday.
Okay.
Okay, Monday to Friday only. To whom we need
Okay,
to send? You can just copy that message, right? For the, you have got that contact details of the online team and that mail ID, right? DURGASOFT online training, right? Yes. Okay. Fine. So I'm stopping for now. We'll continue tomorrow. Fine.